If you are struggling with your sales targets and you are finding your prospects ghosting you, you suddenly see deals slipping away at the last minute from your fingers, then you really need to listen to me very carefully about this book, which is a book by Marcus Chan, as I mentioned earlier. This is a Wall Street Journal bestseller, Six-Figure Sales Secrets, the ultimate guide to overfilling your pipeline, closing more, and earning in the top 1% of salespeople. That is an extremely bold claim. And to be honest with you, I think this guide has got enough strategies that can actually help you crush quotas and achieve financial freedom. So I highly recommend that you listen very carefully. And honestly, don't take my word for it. Just go buy the book. It's worth it. Marcus is the founder of Venly Consulting Group and an acclaimed sales trainer who's coached reps at most of the top organizations, Salesforce, Microsoft, Google, so on. He talks a lot about his own background. He ran a portfolio, I think it was greater than $140 million in sales, worked at various Fortune 500 companies, grew in the rank, understands how to deploy repeatable proven systems. He's been featured in Forbes. Very importantly, he's a huge influencer on LinkedIn. He's a LinkedIn top voice. I follow him. I listen to his utterings. I listen to his mutterings. They make a lot of sense. Now, the way that he structured his book, he actually broke the book into, let's say, 12-ish sections, as he calls them, or chapters for the lay person to understand. I'm going to talk about the core chapters and what I got from them, and I'm going to leverage those learnings into 10 components. I'm going to start with learning number 1, which he calls filling your funnel. Filling your funnel for him is pretty straightforward. He emphasizes the importance of targeting the right prospects and consistently building a pipeline to avoid the feast or famine cycle. A full funnel ensures sales momentum, reduces stress, and increases confidence. The biggest pain that he's solving in this discussion is that he makes sure that you are not struggling when a sales slump occurs. When a sales slump occurs, you're looking at an inconsistent pipeline and you end up targeting the wrong prospects. He actually gets into a lot of detail about how he started reaching out to potential clients every morning and how over time, with specific steps, he created a steady flow of opportunities. And he did that by focusing on his ideal customer profile. He didn't waste a lot of time on low potential leads, as he puts it. And I think this makes it very important for you to take away this one simple actionable tip. Create a checklist for your ideal customer profile. Evaluate every prospect against it before reaching out. Ensure they align with your target audience. Simple. Let's move on to learning number 2. And he calls it prospecting like a badass. And I really like the way he explained it. He speaks about prospecting done in such a way based on boldness and consistency. He gets into the nitty-gritty of how to approach cold calls, emails, and LinkedIn outreach with confidence and strategy. Effective prospecting is about persistence and personalization, and you got to get that right. The fear or the pain that we're trying to solve for is, how am I going to feel if I'm rejected? And what would happen if my outreach methods fail to engage prospects? So you're going to solve for that pain. You're going to block a couple of hours daily for focused prospecting. He talks about crafting personalized messages for each lead and consistently following up. To me, the actionable tip that I would recommend you take from here is get intentional about how you prospect. Dedicate a specific time. Combine multiple channels, your calls, your emails, your LinkedIn messages to make sure that you're maximizing your reach and your impact. I'm going to move on to learning number 3. Learning number 3 is what I think he does very well in his own professional and personal existence, specifically if you look at what he does on LinkedIn. And he calls it social selling mastery. Pretty simple. Build your brand and attract prospects with LinkedIn as a core. You can choose to do it other platforms, but he's very big on LinkedIn. Success comes from consistently sharing valuable insights and engaging with your network. So what pain is he solving for? The pain is very simple. You, the salesperson, how do you stand out? How do you stand out in this noisy digital marketplace where everyone is screaming from their own bullhorn? Marcus gets into a lot of detail. He talks about how he started off sharing weekly posts, how he addressed specific industry pain points, turnover, efficiency, and then over time. And when I say over time, it shows tremendous patience, guys. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. He started building his relationships, his persona as a thought leader. Prospects started reaching out directly for advice. And that's how you get the snowball effect to work for you. So the tip that I'm going to offer to you is very straightforward. Start with an educational post on LinkedIn, which is periodic, weekly, daily, something that you can sustain, that addresses a common problem your prospects face. Engage with comments that you see being put in by other members of that community. Build deeper connections and then establish your presence. It sounds easy, right? It's not. But it requires consistency. If everything were easy, then everyone would make the quota. And we all know that's not the reality, right? Let's move on. Learning number 4. He talks about discovery call excellence. Your discovery call is your opportunity to uncover your prospect's needs and build trust. And the best way that Marcus talks about that is he speaks about using open-ended questions and listening more than talking. The pain that we're trying to solve for is pretty simple. You know that when you lose deals, you fail because you forgot or you did not uncover the real pain points to establish trust. He specifically talks about those elements. He specifically talks about during a discovery call, what would it mean for your business if the problem were solved, as a great opening question which can get into a deeper discussion about hidden inefficiencies. By focusing on understanding, you are presenting yourself as a trusted advisor. So he's got a simple rule of thumb. Spend 80% of the time asking questions and listening, and only 20% of the time presenting ideas. I used to call it the 2/3 rule, 2 ears and 1 mouth. He's actually being a bit more aggressive on it. He's going from 2/3 to 80%. Keep that in mind. Learning number 5, ask powerful questions. I really love the way he explained this. Discovery isn't just about uncovering problems. We just spoke about discovery. This is what I call discovery squared. You're asking the right questions that help the prospect think differently. Marcus is focused on teaching you, as you read his book, how to ask questions that shift the conversation from surface level issues to core challenges. Not easy. Some of the most important things that he talks about and the pain that he solves for you is you are going to miss out on critical insights if you rely on generic questions that fail to dig deep. And that pain is solved by something remarkable. What happens if this issue isn't resolved in the next 6 months? By asking a question like that, you are forcing your conversation, you're forcing your sales discussion to suddenly become about the cost of inaction for the customer. And that is how you create a sense of urgency. So prepare 3 to 5 thought-provoking questions before every discovery call to help your prospect see the bigger picture. Is a one big actionable tip that I got out. I'm going to move on to learning number 6. Closing without being sleazy. Yeah. I mean, when I read that, even I was surprised, but hey, it makes a lot of sense. Closing a deal isn't about high-pressure tactics. You're not going to put your customer into constant objection solving, constant closing. You're going to take it slow, straightforward, and simple. You need to make sure that your prospect sees the value in moving forward. And if value is missing there, then you're going to lose out on trust and integrity because you're not focused on the prospect's goals. What pain are we solving for? Marcus argues that if you are losing deals because prospects feel pressured or unsure about committing, then you are committing a cardinal sin. So he talks about budget in the context of a concern. He says, hey, reframe the conversation. This isn't just an expense, it's an investment that will save you $50K annually. When you focus that on ROI, you're shifting the prospect's perspective, and hopefully that leads to a discussion, which then leads to a decision. So the actionable tip that I got from that is that you need to reframe objections by showing how your solution aligns with the prospect's long-term goals. And I really think he does a fantastic job in that specific section. Let's move on to learning number 7. This is a learning which I think will resonate with a lot of you listening in. He calls it the 90 days to $500K blueprint. Now, wait a minute. 90 days, that's 3 months, that's 1 quarter, guys. And $500,000 dinero sounds like a big deal to me. He gives you a blueprint here. He simply talks about a step-by-step operational plan that gives you rapid success in 90 days. And how do you do that? You focus on those things that matter, what he calls high-impact activities. And those high-impact activities are around consistent prospecting, follow-ups, and skill building. Extremely critical. The pain point that Marcus is actually solving for is a very powerful one. If you as a salesperson are going to be shooting all over, you're simply going to find yourself overwhelmed and you will not have a clear roadmap to hit the big goals. Forcing you to develop a blueprint which is time-oriented as well as dollar value-oriented, you're simply doing one thing. You're leveraging what I call specific measurable goals, right? It's realistic. I think $500,000 goal makes a lot of sense to me, at least in enterprise sales space, B2B space. He gets into some examples. He explains how a seller broke their week into blocks, focus blocks, prospecting X hours, follow-ups X hours, and then weekly personnel development. In 90 days, going through a methodical system, you're going to find yourself breaking those 90 days into weekly milestones. And that's the actionable tip that I got out by reading his book, which is you're going to set specific activity goals. You're going to actually count the number of calls you've made, number of meetings you made, number of deals closed. You're going to start looking at metrics to see how you're spending your time, where are you spending your time, and where you're seeing most of those returns. This is extremely critical, guys. Learning number 8, selling big enterprise deals. He talks about a reality. When you sell to a large enterprise, it requires more patience, it requires strategy and alignment. It also means that you need to navigate through the buying process. And that buying process has multiple stakeholders. The pain that Marcus refers to in his book and in this specific section was around the fact that if you are overwhelmed by the complexity of enterprise sales, you are going to struggle to secure deals. So the inverse is, how do you ensure that you're not overwhelmed by the complexity? And that is going to happen when you work on building trust, expanding your deal size, and making sure that you earn trust by maybe doing pilots and then getting bigger and bigger and bigger by leveraging that. And the actionable tip that he offers is, when you're selling to large enterprises where trust has to be earned, then you need to prove your value by using pilots. Once you build trust, upsell additional services to maximize the relationship and to maximize your share of wallet. Learning number 9. This is really critical. He calls it the bulletproof sales mindset. He gave a very strong understanding of the mindset required for sustaining high performance in sales. He talks about daily habits, self-belief, and resilience. Rejection happens, but staying motivated is critical. The pain point that he's going to address, and I think he addresses spectacularly well, is actually how you struggle with self-doubt and how burnout can happen when you hit a setback. He gets into quite a lot of discussion and quite a lot of examples. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow. That's like a mantra that he puts forward. The actionable tip that I would share with you from that specific section is, start each day by writing down your top 3 goals and one affirmation that reinforces your confidence in yourself, in your process, and how you will sell to your customer. Learning number 10. This is the last learning that I wanted to share. And here's a cute one. Living by the Chan code. Yep. Marcus actually designed a simple 4-letter code using his family name, CHAN, Chan. It's connect, help, advance, navigate. Now, when I flipped through it, I actually realized that what sounded like a cheesy moniker or use of his family name actually is a pretty powerful framework. It's actually a good guiding principle for how sales in life is around building genuine relationships and staying focused on long-term success. What he's trying to do through the Chan code is building something into your DNA that makes sure that you don't lose motivation or direction when you are chasing your quotas, keeping your eyeballs and your focus on the big picture. He talks about sales teams that adopted this philosophy and prioritize client needs and how they build trust over time. He talks about them getting better retention rates, better referrals, and I think it's an amazing way to operate because it gives you what I call a North Star or a compass. At the end of the day, ask yourself, who did you help today? Use this reflection to guide your actions moving forward was the biggest tip that I got from that specific chapter. So, gotta wrap it up. We've been talking for a couple of minutes now, right? This book is unique. He blends it with his own personal development. He blends it with personal frameworks. I just loved it. I thought it was snappy. It's a must read. Anyone who's new to sales or is a seasoned pro, I really think this book simplifies the path to consistent success. And it's got hacks, it's got strategies, and I really believe that it'll give you the tools to close more deals without burnout. And isn't that something amazing if you can achieve that? If you want to add 250K to your annual earnings over the course of the next 5 years, then I've created a gift for you. The Sales Mastery Blueprint can be accessed completely for free by clicking the link in the description. See you on the other side. Bye.